Why I say older woman. People ask me why I always speak about older women with love, with a reverence in my voice that sometimes surprises even me. And I tell them it's not about the years counted, it's not about numbers, it's about the presence, the weight, the kind of experience that shines quietly through every gesture, every glance, every word that has been carefully measured through time, because an older woman carries a kind of depth most people don't notice until they're close enough, until they allow themselves to see beyond the surface, and it's in the way she moves, deliberate but not rushed, as if she knows what matters and what doesn't, as if she has learned to carry herself lightly, even with the knowledge of all she has seen, all she has survived, all she has loved and lost. And in that movement, there is a beauty, not the beauty of youth or sudden excitement, but the kind of beauty that whispers rather than shouts, that lingers instead of demanding attention, that holds space for others without losing herself. And it's in the eyes, those quiet eyes that have witnessed joy, sorrow, triumph, mistakes, forgiveness, the small victories, and devastating losses alike. Eyes that see people not as they pretend to be, but as they are. And when she looks at you, it is not with judgment, it is not with impatience, it is with a kind of knowing that feels both comforting and challenging. Like she recognizes your potential before you recognize it yourself. And maybe that's why I am drawn to her, why I speak about her with love. Because to be seen that way, truly seen, without pretense, is rare, and it leaves a mark on the soul. People ask me why, and I tell them it's because she has patience, in a way the world often undervalues. Patience not born of resignation, but of understanding. Patience that allows love to unfold slowly, fully, honestly, without the desperation or recklessness that can come with youth, because she knows the value of what is real, of what lasts, of what is worth holding on to, even when it is not convenient or easy. And there is something magnetic in that, something I cannot explain fully, only feel, only honor, only admire, and it's in her voice too. Calm but commanding when she chooses to speak. A voice that does not need to be loud to be heard. A voice that can soothe or challenge, question or affirm, teach or simply witness, because an older woman has lived enough to understand the weight of words, the power of presence, the responsibility of attention, and to witness that is to witness a kind of love that has matured without losing its fire, that has endured without hardening, that has softened without weakening. People ask me why I always speak about older women with love, and I tell them because they remind me of what love could be if it were unafraid, if it were patient, if it were deep enough to survive misunderstanding, distance, and imperfection, because they show me that attraction is not always a spark, but a slow burn, a warmth that builds steadily, a light that guides rather than blinds. And to recognize that is to recognize something profoundly human, something rare in its sincerity, something worth celebrating. And I think too about the stories they carry, the laughter and the tears, the lessons learned the hard way, the courage in vulnerability, the wisdom in knowing when to fight and when to release. And I see how that shapes every interaction, every choice, every subtle way she influences the world around her without demanding credit. And I speak of her with love because to see that, to honor that, is to speak of what the heart understands, but the world often overlooks. So when I say older woman, when I speak of them with admiration, I am not speaking of age. I am speaking of essence, of presence, of strength without arrogance, of tenderness without weakness, of a life lived fully enough that every gesture, every word, every smile carries meaning beyond what most eyes can perceive. And that is why I cannot help but speak of them with love, because to witness such a soul is to feel a love that is patient, enduring, and profoundly alive, And maybe that is what people don't understand, that it's not the years that matter, it's the depth, the wisdom, the quiet power that cannot be rushed or manufactured. And once you have seen it, once you have felt it, once you have been touched by it, you cannot forget it, you cannot ignore it, you cannot help but speak of it with reverence, with gratitude, with love that is steady, unwavering, and real. And that is why I always speak about older women with love, because they carry the kind of presence that teaches, inspires, and transforms quietly but profoundly, without even asking for recognition. And to witness that is to witness something timeless, something human, something worth celebrating with every word, every thought, every breath devoted to acknowledging what they are, who they are, and the subtle, powerful way they change the world simply by being themselves. And even beyond all of that, I think about the way an older woman teaches without trying, the way her silence can hold meaning louder than any speech, the way her laughter, soft or deep, carries stories you feel more than you hear, the way her touch can reassure without words, can calm without explanations, can remind you of what it feels like to be truly safe, truly seen, truly understood. And that is why I speak of her with love, because the heart recognizes what the mind sometimes overlooks. The soul recognizes the weight of experience carried lightly, and I cannot help but honor that, cannot help but let my words reach toward what they represent. People ask me why, and I tell them it's because love itself is often misunderstood, often rushed, often confused with what is flashy or temporary. And an older woman embodies a kind of love that has endured, that has been tested and proven in ways most people will never witness. And in seeing that, in feeling that, you understand that real love is patient. Real love is calm. Real love is a steady presence that does not demand, does not manipulate, does not falter under the pressure of time. And that is why I cannot help but speak of her, cannot help but elevate her in my words. And it's not just admiration, it's not just fascination, it's reverence, a recognition of a life that has been lived fully, a heart that has loved deeply, a mind that has grown wiser through experience. And it touches something in me that youth cannot reach, something that understands the value of depth over flash, of patience over impatience, of authentic itty over performance. And when I speak of older women with love, I am speaking of all of that, the quiet power, the gentle authority, the soft confidence that does not need to prove itself to anyone, that simply exists, fully and unashamedly. And maybe some will misunderstand, maybe some will think it is about desire, about obsession, about chasing what is exotic or forbidden, but that is not it at all. That is never it. Because what I speak of, what I feel, what I honor is the soul behind the years, the wisdom behind the smile, the life behind the presence. And that cannot be reduced to anything simple, anything fleeting, anything superficial. I speak of older women with love because they remind me of the kind of human connection that is rare, the kind that does not demand constant validation, the kind that grows naturally, steadily, and deeply, the kind that makes you want to be better, to listen more, to understand more, to give more without expecting anything in return, the kind that teaches by being, not by instructing, the kind that leaves a mark on the heart simply by existing. And so when people ask me why I speak of older women with love, I smile, because words will never capture it fully, and yet I cannot stay silent, cannot withhold acknowledgement of something so profoundly meaningful, cannot ignore the lesson, the beauty, the truth of what it is to witness such a presence, to recognize it, to honor it. And I continue to speak, continue to write, continue to share my admiration, my reverence, my love, because some things are too important not to be said, too alive not to be celebrated, too real not to be honored.